moment everything changed. Close your eyes for a moment. Not literally, because you are listening, but in your mind, I want you to picture two people. Both of them are 35 years old. Both of them are intelligent. Both of them grew up in similar households, went to similar schools, and entered the workforce with roughly the same level of talent and ambition. Now, 20 years later, they could not be more different. The first person wakes up at 6 in the morning, tired before the day even begins. He checks his phone and already feels behind. He commutes to a job where he trades 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours of his life in exchange for a fixed paycheck. He is good at what he does. He works harder than almost everyone around him. His boss respects him. His colleagues admire him. And yet, every single month, he finishes with just enough to pay his bills, contribute a little to retirement, and do it all over again next week. He is not lazy. He is not careless. He is caught in a system that was never designed to make him wealthy. He is caught in what we will call, throughout this entire audiobook, the time trap. The second person wakes up when she wants to. She has a morning routine she genuinely enjoys. She checks in on a few things, makes a couple of calls, reviews some numbers, and by 11 in the morning, she has already done more financially meaningful work than the first person will accomplish in a month. She does not work harder. In fact, by almost every external measure, she works far less. But the difference, the invisible and almost magical difference, is that she has learned something the first person never did. She has learned the leverage code. What is the leverage code? It is not a trick. It is not a shortcut. It is not something reserved for the born wealthy, the brilliantly connected, or the recklessly lucky. The leverage code is a fundamental understanding of how effort can be multiplied. It is the discovery that in the modern world, you do not have to personally execute every result you want to produce. You can borrow other people's time, other people's money, systems that work around the clock, knowledge that sells itself, and digital infrastructure that scales without limit. You can, in other words, multiply yourself. The rich do not simply earn more per hour. They have broken the very idea that hours and income must be connected at all. They have stepped outside the linear equation of effort equals reward and stepped into a world of exponential returns. They build things that work when they are not working. They own assets that they appreciate while they sleep. They deploy capital that earns more capital. They lead people whose combined output dwarfs what any single person could ever produce alone. That is the leverage code. And in this audiobook, we are going to unlock it, step by step, chapter by chapter, with the clarity and depth that the subject demands. We will start at the beginning, with the trap itself. With this reason, so many brilliant, hardworking, genuinely deserving people never build the financial life they imagined. We will name the trap clearly, understand why it exists, and understand exactly what it would take to escape it. Then we will move into the 4 fundamental forces of leverage: systems, assets, people, and knowledge. We will explore each one in real, practical, deeply expanded terms. Not theory. Not motivation. Mechanics. We will look at how each type of leverage works, who uses it, what it costs to acquire, and how to begin building it from wherever you are right now. We will talk about money as a machine, about how capital deployed intelligently stops being a reward for labor and starts being a generator of more capital. We will talk about building teams and organizations that multiply your capacity far beyond what you could accomplish alone. We will talk about systems design, about the art of engineering. We will explore the power of knowledge as an asset, the rise of digital leverage, the mechanics of network effects, and the compounding nature of ownership. And at the end, we will put it all together into a personal roadmap. Your leverage code. A framework you can begin applying this week, this month, this year, to start shifting your relationship with time, money, and effort forever. This is not a book about getting rich quickly. It is a book about building wealth intelligently. It is a book about understanding the mechanisms the wealthy have always used, the mechanisms that are more accessible today than at any point in human history, and applying them with intention, discipline, and long-term thinking. Whether you are an employee who has always dreamed of more, an entrepreneur who feels like you are working harder than ever without gaining real freedom, or someone who is just beginning to question the rules you were taught about money and work, this audiobook was written for you. So settle in. We are going to cover a lot of ground, and every word of it matters. The goal is not to work less. The goal is to make every unit of effort produce exponentially more results. That is leverage. Before we move into the introduction, if you are new here, I want to personally invite you to subscribe to MindLab Audiobooks. Every week we publish deeply researched, professionally narrated audiobooks on wealth, strategy, psychology, and performance. Subscribe now so you never miss a release, and Southwest that every drive, every workout, and every quiet moment becomes an investment in your mind. Now, let us begin. Introduction. There are two worlds running parallel to each other at all times. In the first world, effort is traded for compensation. You show up, you perform, you get paid. Your income is a direct and largely fixed function of the hours and energy you supply. This is the world most people live in. It is the world most of us were raised to inhabit. Study hard, get good grades, secure a good job, work your way up. It is not a terrible life. But it has a ceiling defined not by your intelligence or your ambition, but by the number of hours in a day and the rate at which someone else has agreed to compensate for your time. In the second world, effort is invested rather than traded. In this world, you build things, systems, assets, teams, and knowledge structures that continue producing results long after the initial effort is done. Your income is not a function of your hours. It is a function of the quality of what you have built and how much of it you own. The gap between these two worlds is the leverage gap. And it is enormous. The Federal Reserve releases data every few years on wealth distribution, and the numbers are as stark as they have ever been. The top 10% of Americans hold nearly 70% of all wealth. The top 1% hold roughly 32%. These are not people who work 10 times harder or 10 times longer than everyone else. In many cases, they work considerably less in terms of direct labor hours. What separates them is not effort. It is the structure of how their effort connects to outcomes. Now, some people hear statistics like that and feel frustration, or even cynicism. They see the concentration of wealth as evidence of an unfair system and conclude that the game is rigged against them. And there is genuine, legitimate critique to be had about structural inequality, inherited advantage, and the compounding nature of capital. We should not dismiss those realities. But we also should not allow them to become excuses for not learning the rules of the game that is actually being played. Because here is the truth, the principles of leverage are not secrets. They are not locked away in private clubs or passed down only through inheritance. They are learnable, applicable, and more accessible today than they have ever been in history. The internet alone has democratized access to leverage in a way that would have seemed miraculous to any previous generation. A person with no money can build an audience of millions. A person with a laptop and a great idea can create software used by thousands. A person with disciplined savings and basic financial literacy can begin deploying capital that earns more capital. The barrier is not access. The barrier is understanding. Most people never learn these principles because they were never taught them. School teaches compliance and competence within existing structures. It does not teach ownership, systems design, or capital deployment. It teaches you to be an excellent cog in a machine that someone else built and owns. This audiobook is designed to correct that education gap. To give you, in a single listening experience, the foundational understanding that most wealthy individuals developed over decades of experience, mentorship, and expensive trial and error. We are going to cover leverage in its four primary forms. The first is financial leverage, meaning the use of capital, both your own and borrowed, to produce returns that exceed the cost of that capital. The second is human leverage, meaning the multiplication of your effort through the coordinated work of other people in teams, companies, and partnerships. The third is systems leverage, meaning the creation of processes, technology, and operational structures that produce results automatically and consistently. The fourth is knowledge leverage, meaning the packaging and deployment of expertise and information in ways that generate ongoing value far beyond the original act of creation. Each of these forms of leverage is a chapter of study on its own. And as we move through them, you will start to see that the wealthiest and most productive people in the world do not typically use just one. They stack them. They combine financial leverage with human leverage with systems and knowledge. And when leverage compounds on leverage, the results become genuinely extraordinary. By the end of this audiobook, you will have a complete framework. You will understand the vocabulary, the mechanics, and the strategic logic of building a leveraged life. You will have concrete lessons and exercises at the end of every chapter so that the ideas translate directly into action. Let us now move into Chapter 1, where we begin with the trap itself. Chapter 1, The Time Trap, Why Hard Work Alone Will Never Make You Rich. The mythology of meritocracy. From the time we are children, most of us absorb a story about how the world works. Work hard enough, the story goes, and you will be rewarded. Put in the hours, develop the skills, deliver consistent results, and success will follow. It is a story with genuine moral weight. Discipline matters. Effort matters. Character matters. And in many ways, the story is not entirely wrong. But it is dangerously incomplete. The story leaves out a critical variable. It describes the inputs without honestly explaining the outputs. It tells you how to be good at a job without telling you that being good at a job and building wealth are two entirely different games with entirely different rules. You can be extraordinarily good at your job and still never accumulate meaningful wealth. Millions of people are living proof of this every single day. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers, skilled tradespeople. Brilliant, dedicated professionals whose daily labor is genuinely valuable, whose skills took years to develop, and who are still living paycheck to paycheck, or at best building modest savings that will run out within a few years of retirement. This is not because they are doing anything wrong. It is because they are playing a game whose rules were never designed to make them wealthy. They are operating in a system of linear effort, where income and output scale together one unit at a time, and where the moment they stop working, the income stops too. The linear equation and its ceiling. Let us make this very concrete. Suppose you are a skilled consultant who charges $200 an hour. That is an excellent rate. It puts you solidly in the upper tier of professional earners. Now suppose you work 50 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. Your gross income is $500,000 annually. That is genuinely impressive by almost any standard. But consider the constraints embedded in that number. You are already working 50 hours per week. Your rate, though excellent, is constrained by market benchmarks and client budgets. You have exactly one of you, and you can only be in one place at one time. Your income is capped not by your ambition or your intelligence but by the simple arithmetic of hours multiplied by rate, both of which have hard ceilings. Now suppose you get sick for 3 months. Your income drops to zero. Suppose you want to take a month off. Your income drops to zero. Suppose a major client leaves. Your income drops dramatically. Every risk in your financial life is concentrated entirely in your personal capacity to keep showing up and performing. This is the linear equation. And it is the condition that the vast majority of high earners live in, regardless of how large the numbers get. The time trap does not discriminate by income level. It is a structural condition. It is the condition of having your economic output directly and exclusively connected to your personal labor. Why we were trained for the trap. It is worth pausing to understand why this trap exists and why so many intelligent people never question it. The answer is largely historical. The industrial economy of the 20th century was built on the labor of workers who traded time for wages. Factories needed workers. Offices needed clerks. The entire organizational infrastructure of modern capitalism was designed to efficiently capture human labor and convert it into economic output. Schools, logically, became training institutions for this economy. They taught punctuality, compliance, specialization, and credentialing. They taught people to be excellent employees. This was not a conspiracy. It was an organic response to economic reality. The economy needed workers and the education system produced them. But the consequence is that most people graduate from school with no framework whatsoever for thinking about ownership, asset creation, capital deployment, or leverage. Those concepts were never in the curriculum because the economy at the time did not need most people to understand them. The economy has changed dramatically. The digital revolution has created entirely new categories of leverage that simply did not exist before. But our cultural programming, the stories we tell ourselves about work, money, and success, has not kept pace. Most people are still operating with an industrial-era mental model in a post-industrial economy. The hidden cost of trading time. There is a cost to the time trap that goes beyond the financial. When your economic life depends entirely on your continued personal labor, you cannot afford to stop. You cannot afford to take the long sabbatical you need to think clearly about your life. You cannot afford to walk away from a job that is making you miserable if the alternative is losing your income entirely. You cannot afford to take calculated risks on ideas that might not pay off immediately. The time trap creates not just financial limitation but existential limitation. It constrains your ability to make free choices about how you live. It keeps you responsive rather than proactive. It keeps you running on a treadmill that seems purposeful but is in reality stationary. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They speak often about buying back their time, about designing their lives around freedom rather than obligation. This is not merely philosophical preference. It is a direct consequence of having built leverage. When your income does not depend entirely on your personal presence, you become free in a way that no promotion, no raise, no seniority can ever provide. The first step out. Escaping the time trap does not require you to quit your job tomorrow or abandon your career. It requires something more foundational, a change in perspective. Specifically, it requires you to begin thinking of your time, capital, knowledge, and relationships not merely as tools for getting things done but as inputs that can be invested to build things that produce results beyond your direct involvement. This is the beginning of the leverage mindset. And it starts simply with a question. For every hour of effort you invest, every dollar you earn, every skill you develop, and every relationship you build, you begin to ask, how could this compound? How could this produce more than what I put in? How could this work without me? Those questions are the entry point to the leverage code. And we will spend the rest of this audiobook building the answers. Chapter Summary. The time trap is the condition of having your income directly and exclusively tied to your personal labor. It is not a moral failure or a reflection of insufficient effort. It is a structural condition, one that was designed into the economy and reinforced by an educational system built for industrial-era employment. The trap has a ceiling defined by hours and rates, both of which are inherently limited. The cost of the trap is not merely financial but existential, constraining the freedom to make genuine choices about your life. Escaping it begins not with a dramatic external action but with a fundamental shift in how you see the relationship between effort and outcome. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Map your current income sources this week. For each one, ask whether it would continue if you stopped working for 30, 60, or 90 days. This exercise creates clarity about your actual level of leverage versus linear dependency. Lesson 2. Calculate your effective hourly rate for your primary income source, including all the time you spend on related activities, commuting, preparation, and unwinding. This number is often far lower than people realize and creates healthy urgency around building alternative income structures. Lesson 3. Write down 3 things in your current skill set, network, or experience that someone else might pay for, follow, or benefit from, even when you are not directly delivering it. This is the beginning of identifying leverage potential in what you already have. Lesson 4. Spend 15 minutes this week reading one piece of content written by someone who has successfully transitioned from linear to leveraged income. Study their path specifically, not their philosophy. What did they build first? What did they build second? How long did it take? Coming up next, we move into Chapter 2, the Leverage Blueprint, where we will map the 4 fundamental forces of multiplication and begin understanding how they can be systematically built and stacked. Chapter 2, the Leverage Blueprint, understanding the 4 forces of multiplication. A framework built on fundamentals. Before you can build leverage, you need a clear map of what leverage actually is, what forms it takes, and how each form works at a mechanical level. Without this map, the concept of leverage remains inspiring but vague. With it, you can begin making strategic decisions about which type of leverage to pursue first, how to allocate your limited time and resources, and how to layer different forms of leverage together for compounding effect. There are 4 fundamental forms of leverage available to anyone willing to understand and pursue them. They are financial leverage, human leverage, systems leverage, and knowledge leverage. Each of these has been used by wealthy individuals and institutions for centuries. But the digital economy has expanded and democratized access to all 4 in ways that make this the most extraordinary moment in history to begin building a leveraged life. Let us examine each one in depth. The first force, financial leverage. Financial leverage is the use of capital, both your own and borrowed, to produce returns that exceed the cost of that capital. It is the oldest form of leverage and, in many ways, the most powerful. The basic logic is elegant. If you can deploy money in a way that produces a 10% annual return, and you can borrow that money at a 4% annual interest rate, you profit from the 6% spread. You are using borrowed capital to generate a return that pays for the borrowing and still leaves you ahead. This is the foundation of almost all real estate investment, much of private equity, and a significant portion of business acquisition strategy. But financial leverage goes far beyond simply borrowing money. It also includes the concept of putting your own capital to work in ways that produce passive income. When you invest in dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, businesses, or interest-bearing instruments, your money is working independently of your time. You are not present in the transaction. You are not performing any labor. The capital is doing the work. Warren Buffett famously said that if you do not find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. That statement is not hyperbole. It is a precise description of the difference between financial leverage and linear earning. The most important thing to understand about financial leverage is that it requires a foundation. You cannot deploy capital you do not have, and you cannot borrow effectively without a track record or collateral. This is why the early stages of building leverage often involve a period of accumulation, during which you minimize waste, maximize savings, and begin building the capital base that financial leverage requires. It is not glamorous, but it is foundational. The second force, human leverage. Human leverage is the multiplication of your effective output through the coordinated work of other people. It is the understanding that a well-led team can produce outcomes that no individual, no matter how talented, could ever produce alone. This form of leverage is what allowed the great industrialists to build empires. John D. Rockefeller did not personally drill every oil well. Henry Ford did not personally assemble every car. They built organizations. They hired, trained, motivated, and directed people whose collective effort far exceeded anything they could have produced on their own. Their leverage was human. Human leverage operates on a principle that many people find counterintuitive. Delegation is not a sign of laziness. It is a sign of strategic intelligence. The person who insists on doing everything themselves is not more capable than the person who builds a team. They are less effective. Because there is a hard ceiling on what any single person can produce, and that ceiling is time. There are 24 hours in every day for every human being alive. The person who figures out how to multiply those 24 hours through the work of others has broken through the ceiling the self-reliant person can never escape. In the modern economy, human leverage does not require building a massive corporation. It can begin with a single virtual assistant, a freelance specialist, or a business partner with complementary skills. The key is not the size of the team but the mindset of the builder. Asking constantly, what is the best use of my specific time, and what could someone else handle just as well or better? The third force, systems leverage. Systems leverage is the creation of processes, technology, and operational structures that produce consistent results without requiring your constant direct involvement. It is what transforms a job into a business and a business into an asset. A system, in this context, is any structure that takes inputs and reliably produces outputs through a defined process. A restaurant that can produce the same quality meal whether or not the founder is in the kitchen is a system. An e-commerce store that automatically processes orders, charges customers, updates inventory, and ships products while the owner sleeps is a system. A marketing funnel that consistently converts strangers into paying customers through a series of automated touchpoints is a system. Systems leverage is perhaps the most transformative form of leverage for the modern entrepreneur, because the tools to build it have never been more powerful, accessible, or affordable. Software platforms automate everything from customer relationship management to accounting to email marketing to content scheduling. Artificial intelligence tools are beginning to automate even tasks that once required significant human judgment. The cost of building a basic automated business infrastructure has fallen from hundreds of thousands of dollars to virtually nothing for someone willing to learn and apply the available tools. The core discipline of systems leverage is documentation and replication. Every time you do a task more than once, you ask whether it can be documented into a process, and whether that process can be executed by software, by a lower-cost human resource, or by the customer themselves. Every yes is a unit of leverage created. The fourth force, knowledge leverage. Knowledge leverage is the packaging and deployment of expertise and information in ways that generate ongoing value far beyond the original act of creation. It is what turns a skill into an asset. When you write a book, you do the work once and the book sells indefinitely. When you create an online course, you teach the lesson once and students pay for it for years. When you build a reputation as the foremost expert in a specific domain, clients seek you out, opportunities find you, and your name itself becomes a multiplier of your effectiveness. These are all forms of knowledge leverage. In the information economy, knowledge leverage has become more powerful than at any previous point in history. The internet allows a single piece of content, a well-written article, a compelling video, a valuable piece of software, a carefully designed course, to reach millions of people at virtually no marginal cost. The first unit of a digital product costs something to create. Every subsequent unit costs almost nothing to distribute. That asymmetry is pure leverage. Knowledge leverage also operates through branding and authority. When people trust your judgment, they pay premiums for your services, refer others to you without being asked, and open doors that remain closed to equally skilled but lesser-known competitors. Building expertise is an investment. Publishing that expertise is leverage. The power of stacking. The most important insight in this chapter is that the truly extraordinary wealth creators do not use just one form of leverage. They stack them. They build systems that run on financial capital that they earned by deploying knowledge to attract human talent that multiplied their output, which then generated more capital to deploy. Each layer amplifies the others. The result is not linear growth but exponential growth. We will explore each of these forms of leverage in individual chapters. But holding this blueprint in mind as we go forward will help you see the connective tissue between concepts and begin imagining how your own leverage stack might be built. Chapter Summary. Leverage takes four primary forms: financial, human, systems, and knowledge. Financial leverage uses capital to produce returns independent of personal labor. Human leverage multiplies output through the coordinated work of teams and organizations. Systems leverage creates processes and technology that produce consistent results without constant direct involvement. Knowledge leverages packages expertise into assets that generate ongoing value. The most powerful leverage strategies combine all four forms, creating compounding returns that no single form could produce alone. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Draw a simple 2x2 grid. Label the quadrants with the four types of leverage. In each quadrant, write one example of how someone in your field or industry has used that form of leverage to build wealth. This exercise trains your eye to see leverage in action around you. Lesson 2. Assess your current situation against each of the four leverage types. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for how much of each type you currently have deployed. Be honest. The gaps you identify are your roadmap. Lesson 3. Identify the single form of leverage that is most accessible to you right now given your current resources, skills, and situation. Write down one specific action you could take in the next 7 days to begin building that type of leverage, even at a very small scale. Lesson 4. Find and study one person who has successfully stacked multiple forms of leverage. Research their timeline. What did they build first? How long before it started producing results? How did they use early wins to fund or build the next layer? Document what you find. In Chapter 3, we go deep into the mechanics of financial leverage, exploring exactly how money becomes a machine and how even modest capital, deployed intelligently, can begin working for you around the clock. Chapter 3, Money as a Machine, How Capital Works While You Sleep. Redefining what money is. Most people think of money as a reward. You do work. You get paid. You spend what you earn or save what you can. In this model, money is fundamentally passive. It sits in an account and waits for you to tell it what to do. It has no independent capacity for action. The wealthy think about money in an entirely different way. They think of money not as a reward but as a resource. Specifically, they think of money as a machine that, when properly deployed, produces more money without requiring any additional labor from its owner. This is not a metaphor. It is a mechanical description of how invested capital actually behaves. $1 invested in a business that earns a 10% annual return does not wait for you to show up and earn it again. It works. It participates in economic activity. It generates earnings that are credited to you simply because you own a claim on those earnings. Your presence, your effort, your labor are entirely irrelevant to the transaction. Understanding this distinction between money as a reward and money as a machine is the foundational shift that separates the financial thinking of the wealthy from the financial thinking of everyone else. The compound interest miracle. Albert Einstein is often credited, perhaps apocryphally, with calling compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether or not he actually said it, the sentiment is mathematically accurate. Compound interest is the single most powerful force for wealth creation available to ordinary people, and it is widely misunderstood in terms of its true magnitude. Here are the basic mechanics. When you invest money and earn a return, and then reinvest that return along with your original capital, your next return is calculated on a larger base. This means your returns themselves earn returns. Over time, this creates an acceleration that is counterintuitive to human linear thinking. Consider a simple example. If you invest $10,000 at a 7% annual return and do nothing else, after 10 years you have roughly $19,000. After 20 years, you have roughly $38,000. After 30 years, you have roughly $76,000. You have turned your original $10,000 into $76,000 without adding a single additional dollar and without doing any additional work. That is the machine working. Now add regular contributions. If you invest $500 per month at that same 7% annual return, after 30 years you have over $600,000. You contributed $180,000 of your own money. The machine, compound interest working silently over time, added more than $400,000 in growth. This is why the wealthy are so fanatical about two things: starting early and not touching the machine. Every year you delay beginning is a year of compounding lost. Every time you raid your investment account to fund consumption, you are not just spending the money you withdraw. You are spending all of the future compounding that money would have generated. The four engines of passive capital. There are four primary mechanisms through which capital produces returns without requiring ongoing labor. Each has different risk profiles, liquidity characteristics, and growth dynamics. Understanding all four gives you the vocabulary and the framework to begin building a diversified capital machine. The first engine is the equity market. When you buy shares of publicly traded companies, you become a partial owner of those companies' earnings. As those companies grow and profit, your shares increase in value. Many companies also distribute a portion of their earnings directly to shareholders as dividends, providing cash flow in addition to capital appreciation. Historically, the broad equity market has produced average annual returns of approximately 7 to 10% when adjusted for inflation, making it one of the most reliable wealth-building mechanisms available to retail investors. The second engine is real estate. Property produces wealth through two distinct mechanisms: appreciation, meaning the increase in the property's market value over time, and rental income, meaning the cash flow generated by tenants paying to use the property. Real estate is particularly powerful as a form of financial leverage because it is one of the few assets that banks will readily finance, allowing you to control a large asset with a relatively small down payment and earn returns on the full value of the asset while only putting up a fraction of its cost. The third engine is business ownership. When you own equity in a business, whether a company you founded, a business you acquired, or a stake in someone else's venture, you participate in the profits that business generates. A well-run business can produce extraordinary returns on the initial capital invested, and if structured correctly, it can do so without requiring your daily labor. This is what distinguishes the business owner from the self-employed. The business owner has built a machine. The self-employed person has built a demanding job. The fourth engine is lending and interest-bearing instruments. Bonds, private lending, notes, and similar instruments allow you to earn interest on capital you deploy to borrowers. The returns are typically more modest than equity but also more predictable, making these instruments valuable components of a diversified capital portfolio, particularly as you move closer to needing to access your wealth. The critical distinction: saving versus investing. One of the most damaging financial habits in modern life is confusing saving with investing. They are not the same thing. Saving is the act of not spending money. Investing is the act of deploying money into an asset that produces returns. Saving is necessary but insufficient. Money sitting in a savings account earns minimal interest and, factoring in inflation, actually loses purchasing power over time. The difference compounds dramatically. $1 saved and left in a savings account earning 1% annually for 30 years becomes roughly $1.35. $1 invested in a diversified equity portfolio earning 7% annually for 30 years becomes roughly $7.60. The habit of investing rather than merely saving represents a five-fold difference in outcome over a typical wealth-building career. The practical implication is important. The goal is to minimize the time between earning money and deploying it into productive assets. Not to hoard it. Not to spend it. To put it to work as quickly and effectively as possible. Building your capital machine from scratch. If you are starting from a position of limited capital, the path to a working capital machine begins with one discipline above all others: the savings rate. Your savings rate, meaning the percentage of your income that you convert into investments rather than spending, is the most powerful variable in your early wealth-building journey. A person earning a modest income with a 40% savings rate will build more wealth than a high earner with a 5% savings rate, and the math is not even close over a 20 or 30-year period. This is why the wealthy are often not the highest earners. They are the most disciplined allocators. They have internalized that every dollar spent on consumption is a dollar subtracted from the machine. They live on less than they earn, not because they are ascetics, but because they have a visceral understanding of what that unconsumed dollar will become in 20 years. The journey to a fully functioning capital machine typically has 3 phases. In the first phase, you are building capital. You are earning, saving aggressively, and making initial investments. The returns in this phase are modest because the base is small. In the second phase, your capital base has grown enough that returns are meaningful, and you are beginning to feel the acceleration of compounding. In the third phase, your capital is producing returns that rival or exceed your earned income, and the machine is genuinely working for you around the clock. Most people never reach phase 3 because they do not commit to phase 1. The returns in phase 1 are too small to feel motivating, and the consumption alternatives are too immediately appealing. This is where the long-term perspective becomes not just useful but essential. Chapter Summary. Money, when deployed intelligently, functions as a machine that produces more money without requiring ongoing labor from its owner. The fundamental mechanism is compound interest. Returns earn returns, accelerating over time in a way that human linear thinking systematically underestimates. There are 4 primary engines of passive capital: equity markets, real estate, business ownership, and interest-bearing instruments. The critical distinction between saving and investing is that saving protects money while investing multiplies it. Building a capital machine requires a high savings rate in the early phase, patience through the compounding curve, and disciplined reinvestment of returns. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Calculate your current savings rate. Divide your monthly investments and savings by your gross monthly income. If the number is below 20%, identify 2 or 3 specific spending categories where you could reduce expenditure and redirect that capital to investments. Make this change this month, not this year. Lesson 2. Use a compound interest calculator to model what you would have in 20 and 30 years if you invested your current monthly savings rate versus double your current rate. The visual impact of this exercise is often profoundly motivating. Lesson 3. If you do not already have a brokerage or investment account, open one this week. Many platforms require no minimum investment to start. The psychological barrier of beginning is often larger than the financial one. Removing it is the most important first step. Lesson 4. Research one specific real estate investment trust or index fund and understand exactly what you would be owning if you invested in it. The act of understanding an investment before making it builds both confidence and competence. Next, in Chapter 4, we explore the human multiplier, the leverage that comes from building teams and organizations that multiply your capacity far beyond what any individual effort could achieve. Chapter 4, The Human Multiplier, Building Teams That Scale Without You. The Lone Genius Myth. Our culture has an enduring love affair with the lone genius. The solitary innovator working in a garage. The self-made entrepreneur who built an empire through sheer personal will. The star performer whose individual brilliance carried the team. These narratives are emotionally compelling. They are also, almost without exception, deeply misleading. Behind every celebrated individual success is an invisible army of contributors whose labor, expertise, and coordination made the celebrated achievement possible. Steve Jobs had Tim Cook building the supply chain and Jonathan Ive designing the products. Elon Musk has thousands of engineers, managers, and operators at every company he runs. Jeff Bezos built Amazon by recruiting and organizing an extraordinarily capable leadership team that could execute at a scale no single person could manage. The truth is not that successful people are uniquely brilliant in isolation. It is that successful people are extraordinarily skilled at a very specific and undervalued art, the art of assembling, directing, and motivating other people to produce results. That art is human leverage. And it is the multiplier that transforms talented individuals into builders of things that outlast and outgrow them. Why most people avoid delegation. The most common obstacle to human leverage is a paradox. The very qualities that make someone good at their work often make them terrible at delegating it. High performers tend to have very specific standards. They know exactly how they want things done. They have spent years developing their skills and their judgment. The idea of handing a task to someone else and accepting a result that is merely good rather than exceptional feels wasteful and uncomfortable. So they do the task themselves. And in doing so, they cap their own output at the level of what one person can directly produce. The lone genius myth. Our culture has an enduring love affair with the lone genius. The solitary innovator working in a garage. The self-made entrepreneur who built an empire through sheer personal will. The star performer whose individual brilliance carried the team. These narratives are emotionally compelling. They are also, almost without exception, deeply misleading. Behind every celebrated individual success is an invisible army of contributors whose labor, expertise, and coordination made the celebrated achievement possible. Steve Jobs had Tim Cook building the supply chain and Jonathan Ive designing the products. Elon Musk has thousands of engineers, managers, and operators at every company he runs. Jeff Bezos built Amazon by recruiting and organizing an extraordinarily capable leadership team that could execute at a scale no single person could manage. The truth is not that successful people are uniquely brilliant in isolation. It is that successful people are extraordinarily skilled at a very specific and undervalued art, the art of assembling, directing, and motivating other people to produce results. That art is human leverage. And it is the multiplier that transforms talented individuals into builders of things that outlast and outgrow them. Why most people avoid delegation. The most common obstacle to human leverage is a paradox. The very qualities that make someone good at their work often make them terrible at delegating it. High performers tend to have very specific standards. They know exactly how they want things done. They have spent years developing their skills and their judgment. The idea of handing a task to someone else and accepting a result that is merely good rather than exceptional feels wasteful and uncomfortable. So they do the task themselves. And in doing so, they cap their own output at the level of what one person can directly produce. This is the level at which genuine organizational leverage occurs, because the person you have delegated to begins using their own judgment, creativity, and initiative rather than simply executing your instructions. At the apex of the hierarchy is leadership delegation, where you delegate not just outcomes but the development of other people. You create leaders who create leaders, multiplying your leverage through multiple layers of the organization. This is how large companies scale. And it is how great founders eventually make themselves genuinely replaceable in the operational sense while remaining irreplaceable in the strategic and visionary sense. Building a team that runs without you. The ultimate expression of human leverage is an organization that operates effectively in your absence. This is the gold standard of business building, and it requires deliberate architecture. Most businesses are not built this way. They are built organically, reactively, adding people as immediate needs arise without a coherent design for how those people should interact, what decisions they should make independently, and what standards they should uphold. Designing a team for independence requires several elements. The first is a clear and deeply understood mission that provides direction without requiring constant instruction. When people know what the organization is trying to achieve and why, they can make countless daily decisions independently and in alignment with the larger goal. The second is documented processes that capture institutional knowledge and make it transferable. When the way things should be done exists only in one person's head, the organization is fragile. When it exists in documented systems, the organization can function even as individuals come and go. The third is a culture of accountability, where results rather than activity are the metric of performance. When people are accountable for outcomes rather than hours logged, they develop the initiative and problem-solving capacity that makes genuine operational independence possible. Mentoring and challenging individuals with progressively greater responsibilities. This investment compounds over time into an organization that is genuinely more capable than the sum of its parts. Leverage beyond employment, contractors, partners, and platforms. Human leverage does not require hiring full-time employees. In fact, for many entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, the most efficient form of human leverage comes from strategic use of contractors, freelancers, and platform-based services. The gig economy has created an extraordinary marketplace for specialized talent. You can hire a world-class graphic designer for a single project. You can engage a financial analyst on a part-time basis. You can access expert legal or technical advice on demand. Platforms like freelance marketplaces, talent networks, and specialized agencies have made it possible to assemble and reassemble human capability as needed, paying only for what you use. This model of human leverage is particularly powerful for asset-light businesses, where the goal is to produce high-value outputs without building the fixed-cost infrastructure of a traditional employer. By keeping fixed personnel costs low and accessing specialized talent on demand, you can scale your output without scaling your overhead. Chapter Summary. Human leverage is the multiplication of your effective output through the coordinated work of other people. The lone genius mythology that dominates popular culture obscures the reality that all significant achievement involves the organized effort of teams. The most common barrier to human leverage is the high performer's reluctance to delegate, driven by standards that make them great at their work but inefficient at building organizations. Effective delegation follows a hierarchy from task to process to outcome to leadership. The ultimate goal is an organization that operates effectively without constant personal involvement. Human leverage can be accessed through employment, contracting, partnerships, and platforms, each offering different cost and flexibility profiles. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. List every task you perform in a typical week. Next to each one, write either unique value if it truly requires your specific capabilities or delegable if a competent person with reasonable training could handle it. Most people find that more than 60% of their tasks fall into the second category. Lesson 2. Identify the single most time-consuming delegable task you currently handle. Research the cost of outsourcing it, whether to a virtual assistant, a freelancer, or a service provider. Calculate whether the cost of outsourcing is justified by the value of what you could do with that reclaimed time. Lesson 3. Write a one-page process document for one task you currently perform. The act of documenting it clarifies the task and makes it transferable. This is the foundational practice of systems thinking applied to human leverage. Lesson 4. Have one honest conversation this week with someone who has successfully built a team. Ask them specifically what they found hardest about the transition from doing to leading, and what they would do differently. The experiential wisdom of practitioners is irreplaceable. In Chapter 5, we turn to systems thinking, the discipline of engineering your life and business to produce consistent results on autopilot. Chapter 5. Systems Thinking, Engineering Your Life to Run on Autopilot. The genius of good systems. Consider two restaurants on the same street. Both serve excellent food. Both have talented chefs. But one of them can only operate when the owner is present. The moment the owner takes a vacation or falls ill, quality drops, service suffers, and the business struggles. The other restaurant runs with the same quality and consistency whether the owner is there or not, because the owner built systems. Recipes are standardized and documented. Training protocols are clear and repeatable. Inventory management, scheduling, and quality control are all systematized. The business does not depend on any one person's daily presence. The second restaurant is a business. The first is a job wearing a business suit. This distinction, between a business and a very demanding job, is entirely about systems. Systems are what transform personal capability into organizational capability. They are what make results reproducible, scalable, and transferable. They are what allow leverage to compound over time rather than remaining dependent on a single individual's ongoing effort. What a system actually is. A system, in the context of business and personal leverage, is any structured process that takes defined inputs and reliably produces desired outputs through a sequence of defined steps. It can be a simple checklist or a complex automated workflow. It can be a software application or a set of clearly documented procedures. What matters is not its complexity but its reliability and its independence from your personal involvement. Every business function can be systematized. Customer acquisition, lead nurturing, sales conversion, order fulfillment, customer service, financial reporting, team management, content creation. Each of these functions, when left unsystematized, depends on someone showing up and doing it manually every time. When systematized, it runs predictably with minimal ongoing attention. The cumulative effect of systematizing many functions is an organization that operates largely on autopilot. Not completely. Systems require maintenance, updating, and oversight. But the difference between a systematized organization and an unsystematized one is the difference between monitoring a machine and being the machine. The technology revolution in systems leverage. We are living through a golden age of systems leverage, and the driving force is software. The range and capability of business automation tools available today would have been unimaginable a generation ago. And the cost of deploying them has fallen to near zero for individuals and small businesses. Email marketing platforms can automatically nurture a lead over weeks with personalized content, trigger specific messages based on the recipient's behavior, and convert a prospect into a customer without any human involvement in the process. Customer relationship management systems track every interaction with every prospect and customer, flagging opportunities and automating follow-up sequences. E-commerce platforms handle the entire purchase process, from product discovery to payment processing to shipping notification, automatically and at scale. Beyond these dedicated tools, no-code and low-code automation platforms have made it possible for people with no programming skills whatsoever to build sophisticated automated workflows that connect dozens of different applications. A new lead fills out a form on your website, which automatically creates a record in your CRM, sends a personalized welcome email, adds the lead to a marketing sequence, schedules a follow-up reminder for your sales team, and updates a dashboard metric, all without any human action beyond the initial form submission. These tools are not futuristic. They exist today, and most of them have free tiers or very affordable pricing models. The barrier to building systematic leverage through technology has never been lower. Systems for your personal life. The power of systems thinking is not limited to business. It applies with equal force to personal life. The people who consistently maintain their health, their relationships, their finances, and their intellectual development are almost never doing so through pure willpower. They are doing so through systems. A morning routine is a system. A weekly review is a system. A monthly budget process is a system. An annual relationship audit, where you deliberately spend time with the people who matter most to you, is a system. Automating your savings contributions so that money moves to investments before you can spend it is a system. Scheduling dedicated blocks for deep work and protecting them as fiercely as you would a meeting with your most important client is a system. Personal systems reduce the cognitive load of living well. They remove the need for willpower in areas where willpower is unreliable. They convert the things you want to do consistently into the things you actually do consistently, because the structure does the heavy lifting that motivation cannot sustain. The discipline of process documentation. The foundational practice of systems leverage is documentation. Writing down how things should be done, step by step, in enough detail that someone else could execute the process without your involvement. This sounds tedious. Many people resist it. But it is one of the highest return investments of time available to any business builder. Process documentation serves multiple functions simultaneously. It clarifies your own thinking about how a process should work, often revealing inefficiencies that were invisible when the process lived only in your head. It makes the process transferable, enabling you to delegate it to others. It makes it improvable, because a written process can be analyzed, tested, and optimized in ways that an informal habit cannot. And it makes the business more valuable, because a business whose operations are documented is substantially more attractive to potential buyers or investors than one that depends on the founder's presence. The discipline of documenting processes is not a one-time project. It is an ongoing practice. Every time you encounter a recurring task, the question you ask is this documented? And if not, how long would it take to document it? In most cases, documenting a process takes a fraction of the time spent executing it repeatedly, and the return on that documentation investment compounds with every subsequent execution. Chapter Summary. Systems leverage is the creation of processes and structures that produce consistent results without requiring constant direct involvement. A system takes defined inputs and produces desired outputs through a reliable sequence of steps. Software and automation tools have made systems leverage more accessible and affordable than at any point in history. The discipline of process documentation is the foundational practice that makes processes transferable, improvable, and scalable. Systems thinking applies equally to business and personal life, converting aspirations into reliably executed behaviors. The cumulative effect of systematizing many functions is an organization, or a life, that operates largely on autopilot. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Identify one recurring task in your work or business that you perform more than once a month. This week, document it fully: the trigger, each step, the tools used, the expected output, and the quality standard. This document is your first system. Lesson 2. Research one automation tool relevant to your work, whether it is an email marketing platform, a CRM, a scheduling tool, or a workflow automation service. Spend 1 hour learning its basic capabilities. The investment in understanding what tools can do for you is a prerequisite to using them. Lesson 3. Audit one personal routine this week, whether it is your morning, your workout habit, your weekly review, or your financial management. Ask whether the routine is producing the outcomes you want consistently. If not, redesign it as a deliberate system with defined inputs, steps, and outputs. Lesson 4. Calculate the dollar value of 1 hour of your time at your best, doing your highest leverage work. Now identify one task that consumes multiple hours per week and could be automated or systematized. The gap between the cost of building the system and the value of the time it reclaims is your return on investment. Coming up, Chapter 6 takes us into the knowledge edge, exploring how expertise becomes an asset and how intellectual capital generates ongoing value far beyond the moments of its creation. Chapter 6, The Knowledge Edge, Turning Expertise into an Appreciating Asset. What most people do wrong with what they know. Think about the most capable person you know in their field. A brilliant accountant. A gifted designer. An extraordinarily skilled software engineer. A wise and experienced therapist. Now ask yourself, is that person wealthy in proportion to the depth of their expertise? In most cases, the answer is no. And the reason, almost invariably, is that they have made the fundamental error of selling their knowledge by the hour rather than packaging it as an asset. Selling knowledge by the hour is the most common and most limiting form of knowledge monetization. It is expertise deployed as labor. Your knowledge is valuable, but you can only access that value by showing up, engaging with a client, delivering the service, and then repeating the cycle. You are back in the time trap. The alternative is to package your knowledge in ways that allow it to generate value independently. In ways that scale beyond your personal availability. In ways that work whether you are sleeping, traveling, or focused on something else entirely. The knowledge asset spectrum. Knowledge can be packaged along a spectrum from the most active to the most passive. Understanding this spectrum allows you to make strategic decisions about where to invest your packaging effort for the greatest long-term return. At the most active end of the spectrum is consulting and advisory work, where you deliver expertise in direct, personal engagements. This is high value per interaction but completely dependent on your time. Moving along the spectrum toward greater leverage, you find group programs and workshops, where a single delivery of your expertise benefits multiple people simultaneously. One step further is recorded content, whether in the form of online courses, webinars, or training programs, where your expertise is captured once and delivered infinitely. Further still are written works, books, guides, articles, and reports, which can be published, distributed, and discovered indefinitely. And at the most passive end of the spectrum are systems built on your expertise, software tools, frameworks, methodologies, and communities that embody your knowledge in structures that generate value entirely independently of your ongoing involvement. The most sophisticated knowledge entrepreneurs move strategically across this spectrum, using high-touch services to build credibility and cash flow while simultaneously building lower-touch, higher-scale assets that produce passive income. The goal is to have your knowledge working across multiple points of the spectrum simultaneously. Building authority, the leverage of reputation. There is a form of knowledge leverage that is less tangible than a course or a book but in many ways more powerful: authority. When you are recognized as the foremost expert in a specific domain, the economics of your expertise change fundamentally. Clients seek you out rather than requiring you to find them. You can command premium pricing without justification because your reputation itself justifies it. Opportunities find you. Collaborations are offered. Invitations arrive. Authority compounds in the way that most financial assets do. The more widely your expertise is known, the more opportunities arise to demonstrate and extend that expertise, which further expands your reputation, which attracts more opportunities. It is a flywheel that, once in motion, becomes self-reinforcing. Building authority requires two things: genuine depth of expertise and consistent public demonstration of that expertise. The first requires investment in learning, practice, and experience. The second requires publishing. Writing articles, recording videos, speaking at events, participating in professional conversations, and contributing intellectual value to public discourse. Many experts resist this second requirement out of modesty or a reluctance to promote themselves. This is a costly mistake. In the information economy, invisible expertise is economically equivalent to no expertise at all. The digital knowledge economy. The economics of knowledge leverage have been transformed by the internet in a way that is difficult to overstate. Before the internet, packaging and distributing knowledge required significant capital and institutional infrastructure. Publishing a book required a publisher. Distributing a course required a physical classroom or a television network. Reaching a large audience with your expertise required access to broadcast media that was controlled by a small number of gatekeepers. Today, anyone with a laptop and something genuinely valuable to say can publish a book, launch an online course, build a subscriber newsletter, create a podcast, or run a YouTube channel. The distribution infrastructure is available at negligible cost. The audience is global. The barriers to entry are almost entirely intellectual rather than financial. This democratization of knowledge distribution is the single greatest expansion of leverage opportunity in human history. A teacher in a small town can now share expertise with students on every continent. A specialist in an obscure but valuable domain can build a loyal global audience. A thinker with a genuinely useful framework can reach millions of people who will gladly pay for structured access to that thinking. The most important implication is this: if you have genuine expertise and you are not packaging and publishing it, you are leaving extraordinary leverage on the table. Not because everyone who publishes becomes wealthy, but because the alternative, keeping your expertise invisible, guarantees that it generates no leverage whatsoever. The intellectual property portfolio. The most sophisticated knowledge entrepreneurs think in terms of building an intellectual property portfolio. Just as a financial investor builds a diversified portfolio of assets that generate returns across different conditions and time horizons, a knowledge entrepreneur builds a portfolio of intellectual assets, books, courses, frameworks, tools, content archives, and community memberships, each of which generates revenue and authority through different mechanisms. This portfolio, once built, becomes a durable and appreciating asset. Good books sell for decades. Well-structured courses continue to attract students years after they were created. A strong content archive drives organic search traffic indefinitely. A loyal community generates recurring subscription revenue with minimal ongoing cost. The initial investment in creating these assets is real and sometimes substantial. But the ongoing return is disproportionately large relative to the ongoing effort required to maintain them. Chapter summary. Most experts underutilize the leverage potential of their knowledge by selling it exclusively through direct service delivery rather than packaging it as scalable assets. The knowledge asset spectrum ranges from highly active consulting to fully passive systems built on expertise. Authority, the recognition of expertise by a broad audience, is a self-reinforcing form of leverage that changes the economics of expertise fundamentally. The internet has democratized knowledge distribution, making it possible for any genuine expert to build a global audience at negligible cost. The most sophisticated approach is building an intellectual property portfolio of assets that generate revenue and authority through multiple simultaneous mechanisms. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Identify the domain in which you have accumulated the most expertise or the most unusually useful perspective. This is the raw material of your knowledge asset. Write a one-paragraph description of what you uniquely understand that most people in your field do not. Lesson 2. Map your knowledge monetization against the spectrum this week. At which points on the spectrum are you currently generating value? Where are the gaps? Identify one point on the spectrum where you are not currently packaging your expertise that you could realistically begin within the next 3 months. Lesson 3. Commit to one act of public expertise demonstration this week. Write an article, record a short video, contribute a valuable answer to an online community in your field, or send a genuinely useful piece of thinking to 10 people who would benefit from it. The habit of public demonstration is the foundation of authority building. Lesson 4. Research one successful knowledge entrepreneur in your field or adjacent field. Study their content portfolio specifically. What have they created? What formats have they used? What appears to generate the most engagement and revenue? The study of successful knowledge leverage models accelerates your own development dramatically. In Chapter 7, we explore the media machine and the remarkable discovery that in the modern economy, attention itself is a form of compounding currency. Chapter 7, The Media Machine, How Attention Becomes Compounding Currency. The new asset class. In every era of economic history, there has been a scarce resource that determines who has power and who does not. In the agricultural era, it was land. In the industrial era, it was capital and manufacturing infrastructure. In the early information age, it was data and distribution networks. In the current attention economy, the scarce resource is human attention. Think about that for a moment. We are living in an era of information abundance. There has never been more content produced, more platforms competing for engagement, more channels vying for the limited hours in every person's day. In this environment, the ability to capture and hold the attention of a large audience is extraordinarily valuable. And it is, in principle, accessible to anyone who is willing to create genuinely valuable content consistently over time. An audience is a media asset. A large, engaged, loyal audience is one of the most powerful forms of leverage in the modern economy. It is a distribution channel that costs nothing to use, a sales force that operates around the clock, and a credibility signal that opens doors no credential or resume can match. How audiences compound. One of the most important properties of audience building is that it compounds. Early in the process, it grows slowly. You publish content, few people see it, fewer people share it, and the direct economic return is minimal. This is the phase at which most people give up, and it is precisely the wrong time to do so. As your content library grows, several compounding mechanisms begin to operate simultaneously. Search engine algorithms surface your older content to new audiences indefinitely. Each piece of content you publish can reference and link to previous pieces, deepening engagement and increasing the time people spend with your work. Satisfied audience members share your content with their networks, creating organic distribution that scales without cost. Your authority grows with every additional piece of quality content, attracting collaborators, media opportunities, and business deals that further accelerate growth. The result of sustained audience building over 2 to 5 years is often a media asset that generates attention, authority, and income at a scale that seems wildly disproportionate to the ongoing effort required to maintain it. Because most of the compounding happened invisibly during the slow early phase that most people abandoned. The monetization mechanisms of audience. An audience generates economic value through multiple mechanisms, and understanding all of them is important for building a sustainable media business. The most direct mechanism is direct product or service sales. If you have built an audience interested in a specific domain, you are also building a highly qualified list of potential customers for products and services relevant to that domain. The conversion rates from a warm, loyal audience vastly exceed the conversion rates from cold advertising, which is why audience-first businesses often have dramatically lower customer acquisition costs than traditional businesses. The second mechanism is advertising and sponsorship. Large audiences attract advertisers and sponsors willing to pay for access to that attention. This model has supported traditional media for over a century and works equally well for digital media creators. The economics are straightforward. An advertiser pays you for the privilege of presenting their message to your audience, because they value your audience's attention more than the cost of the placement. The third mechanism is community membership. Audiences that feel a strong sense of connection to a creator and to each other will often pay for enhanced access, exclusive content, and community belonging. Subscription and membership models built on engaged audiences can generate highly predictable recurring revenue with strong retention characteristics. The fourth mechanism is affiliate relationships and licensing. A trusted voice in a specific domain can earn meaningful income by recommending products and services they genuinely use and believe in, earning a commission on purchases their recommendations generate. As trust and authority grow, licensing deals, brand partnerships, and cross-promotional arrangements further monetize the audience asset. Building your media machine. Building a media machine begins with a single foundational decision: choosing the medium and the niche in which you will create content. This decision matters more than most people realize. Choosing a medium that aligns with your natural communication strengths, whether that is writing, speaking, visual presentation, or technical teaching, dramatically increases the likelihood of sustained output. And choosing a niche that is specific enough to attract a clearly defined audience but broad enough to sustain years of content creation creates the conditions for genuine compounding. Once the medium and niche are chosen, the discipline is simple in principle though demanding in execution: consistent, high-quality creation over an extended period of time. Not viral moments. Not overnight growth hacks. Sustained, compounding, audience-serving publication that builds trust and authority gradually and durably. The greatest enemy of media leverage is inconsistency. An audience that cannot rely on your regular presence does not deepen its trust in you. Algorithms that do not see consistent publication do not amplify your content. And the compounding flywheel of audience growth does not engage without the sustained input of regular content. Consistency, more than any single brilliant piece of content, is what builds the media machine. Chapter summary. Attention is the scarce resource of the modern economy, and an audience is a media asset with compounding properties. Audience growth is slow and invisible in the early phase, which is precisely when most people abandon the effort, missing the compounding acceleration that follows. Audiences monetize through direct product and service sales, advertising and sponsorships, community memberships, and affiliate and licensing arrangements. Building a media machine requires choosing a medium and niche aligned with your strengths, and then committing to consistent, high-quality creation over a sustained period. Consistency, more than any other single factor, determines whether the compounding flywheel engages. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Identify one person in your field who has built a significant media presence over the past 5 to 10 years. Research their early content. How did it compare to their current work? What consistent elements have been present throughout? The study of long arc content careers reveals the genuine mechanics of audience compounding. Lesson 2. Choose one medium for content creation that aligns with your natural communication style. Commit to publishing one piece of content in that medium this week. Do not wait for perfection. The first piece of published content, however imperfect, is infinitely more leveraged than the perfect piece you are still preparing. Lesson 3. Define your niche with precision. If you were to be known for being the most useful voice on one specific topic for one specific audience, what would that topic and audience be? Write it down in one sentence. The specificity of your positioning determines the clarity of your audience growth. Lesson 4. Set a content creation schedule you can genuinely maintain. Not the most ambitious schedule imaginable, but the most consistent one possible. Publish on that schedule for 30 consecutive days before evaluating results. The compounding of audience growth cannot be assessed on a shorter time frame. Chapter 8 takes us into code and creation, exploring how digital assets, from software to templates to tools, offer the most extraordinary leverage ratio in economic history. Chapter 8, Code and Creation, Digital Assets that Multiply Infinitely at Zero Cost. The Zero Marginal Cost Revolution. Every physical product has a marginal cost. The 10th car off the assembly line costs roughly as much to produce as the first. The 1000th burger served at a restaurant costs roughly as much in ingredients and labor as the first. The physical world has a fundamental constraint: every additional unit of output requires additional inputs of material, labor, and energy. Digital products do not obey this rule. The second download of a software application costs nothing. The 1000th student enrolled in an online course adds virtually no cost to the creator. The millionth stream of a piece of digital content costs almost nothing to serve. The economics of digital creation are unlike any other category of economic activity in human history. You create once and distribute infinitely at near zero additional cost. This is what economists call the zero marginal cost revolution. And it is the defining economic property of the digital age. For anyone who understands how to create and deploy digital assets, it represents the most extraordinary leverage opportunity ever available to an individual creator. The spectrum of digital assets. Digital assets take many forms, and understanding the full spectrum helps you identify which categories are most accessible and most aligned with your capabilities. Software applications are at the high end of the spectrum in terms of initial creation cost, but also in terms of leverage potential. A well-designed software product can serve millions of users simultaneously, generating revenue around the clock with minimal ongoing marginal cost. The business model of software as a service, in which users pay a recurring subscription for access to a cloud-hosted application, has produced some of the most extraordinarily leveraged businesses in history. Below software in terms of creation complexity but still highly leveraged are digital tools and templates. Spreadsheet templates, design assets, document frameworks, prompt libraries, and similar resources can be created in hours and sold indefinitely. The market for well-designed digital tools is enormous and growing rapidly. Online courses and educational programs represent another major category of digital asset. A course created with care and depth, addressing a genuine need in a specific market, can generate revenue for years after its initial creation. The creator's ongoing involvement is limited to occasional updates and customer support, while the core asset continues delivering value and generating income. Digital publications, including ebooks, guides, reports, and newsletters, occupy the most accessible end of the creation spectrum. The tools for creating and distributing them are universally available, the creation process requires no technical skills beyond writing, and the distribution infrastructure costs nothing to use. Building digital leverage without technical skills. A common misconception is that digital asset creation requires programming skills. While the ability to write code dramatically expands the range of digital assets you can create, it is not a prerequisite for meaningful digital leverage. No-code and low-code platforms have made it possible to build functional web applications, automated workflows, and sophisticated digital products without writing a single line of code. Platforms designed for course creation, template marketplaces, and digital product distribution have lowered the technical barrier to digital entrepreneurship to near zero. The practical implication is that the barrier to building digital leverage is primarily intellectual and creative rather than technical. The question is not whether you can code but whether you have something genuinely useful to create. And the answer to that question depends on your expertise, your creativity, and your willingness to invest the focused time necessary to create something of real quality. The long tail of digital revenue. One of the most compelling properties of digital assets is their long-tail revenue potential. Unlike a physical product whose market exposure depends on shelf placement and retailer relationships, a digital product can be discovered through search engines, online marketplaces, social media, and direct referral indefinitely after its creation. A digital course published today can generate sales next year, 3 years from now, or 10 years from now, because the discovery mechanisms of the internet do not expire. An ebook published and listed on digital platforms is effectively available for sale 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, to a global audience, without any ongoing action required from its creator. This property creates a remarkable dynamic for the digital creator. Every asset you create adds to a growing catalog that generates revenue simultaneously. 10 digital products each selling modestly adds up to revenue that would be impossible to generate through direct labor. 100 products, over a career of creation, becomes a portfolio with extraordinary passive income potential. Chapter Summary. Digital assets are governed by near-zero marginal cost economics, meaning they can be created once and distributed infinitely without significant additional cost. The spectrum of digital assets ranges from software applications at the high leverage, high creation cost end to digital publications at the accessible, lower creation cost end. Building digital leverage does not require programming skills. No-code platforms and digital distribution infrastructure make meaningful digital creation accessible to anyone with genuine expertise or creativity. The long-tail property of digital products means they can generate revenue indefinitely after creation, making every digital asset you create an addition to a compounding revenue portfolio. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Identify one piece of knowledge, one framework, one process, or one creative work that you have developed and that others would genuinely benefit from. Write a one-paragraph description of what you would create if you were to package this knowledge as a digital asset. This is the beginning of your digital product concept. Lesson 2. Research the marketplace for digital products in your domain. What formats are most popular? What price points are common? What gaps exist in currently available products? An hour of market research before beginning creation dramatically increases the likelihood of building something people will buy. Lesson 3. Set a creation deadline. Choose the simplest, smallest digital asset you could create, whether a detailed guide, a template collection, or a short course, and commit to having a finished draft within 30 days. The first digital asset is always the hardest because the process is unfamiliar. The second is always faster. Lesson 4. Set up a simple digital distribution infrastructure. Choose a platform for selling your digital product, create an account, and understand the basic mechanics of how you would list and sell a product. Completing this setup before your product is finished removes a common last-mile obstacle to actually launching. Chapter 9 takes us into the network effect, exploring why relationships are not just personally valuable but economically compounding in ways that most people dramatically underestimate. Chapter 9, The Network Effect, Why Who You Know Matters More Than What You Know. Metcalfe's Law and Human Networks. In the 1980s, Robert Metcalfe, the co-inventor of Ethernet, proposed a law that has since become one of the foundational principles of network economics. Metcalfe's law states that the value of a communications network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users. 2 connected telephones create 1 connection. 5 connected telephones create 10 possible connections. 100 connected telephones create nearly 5,000 possible connections. The insight is that networks do not grow in value linearly. They grow exponentially, because each new member of a network creates connections not just with one other member but with every existing member simultaneously. Human professional networks obey a similar logic. Your network is not merely a list of people you know. It is a web of relationships, each of which carries information, opportunity, trust, and capability. And the value of that web grows exponentially as it grows in size and quality, because more connections mean more potential pathways for opportunities to flow to you. The economics of relationship capital. The conventional understanding of professional networking focuses on the direct, transactional value of specific connections. You know someone who can make a useful introduction, or someone who might hire you, or someone whose advice is valuable. This is a narrow and limiting view. The deeper value of relationship capital is informational and probabilistic. Your network is a distributed intelligence system. Every person you know well is a node that has access to information, perspectives, and opportunities that you do not. When you need to make a major decision, solve a difficult problem, enter a new market, or find a critical resource, the speed and quality of your solution will depend enormously on the quality of your network. This is why studies of career trajectories consistently find that the most successful people in almost every field are not necessarily the most technically skilled but the most well-connected in a strategic sense. Not connected in the superficial sense of having a large LinkedIn contact list, but connected in the deep sense of having genuine relationships with people across multiple fields, industries, and networks. Weak ties and strong bridges. One of the most counterintuitive findings in network science is the strength of weak ties. In a landmark study published in 1973, sociologist Mark Granovetter found that people are more likely to find important professional opportunities through casual acquaintances than through close friends and family. The reason is structural. Your close relationships tend to be embedded in the same social and professional circles as you. They see the same opportunities you see. Your weak ties, by contrast, are connected to different networks, different communities, and different information flows. They are bridges to worlds you would not otherwise access. This finding has profound practical implications for how you think about building and maintaining your network. The instinct to focus relationship energy on your closest existing relationships, while natural, is strategically suboptimal. The highest leverage networking investment is often in maintaining and expanding the diversity of your weak ties. Staying in touch with former colleagues, attending events in adjacent fields, engaging genuinely with people in online communities outside your primary domain. Building a network that compounds. The most powerful professional networks are not built through aggressive networking campaigns or large-scale event attendance. They are built through the consistent provision of genuine value to others over a long period of time. The logic is simple but important. People remember and reciprocate help that was offered without expectation of immediate return. If you consistently introduce people who should know each other, Share information and resources that are useful to your network, advocate for others' work and ideas, and show up as genuinely interested in the success of the people around you. You build a reputation as someone worth knowing and worth helping. This reputation becomes a magnet for further high-quality relationships. Excellent people are extraordinarily selective about who they invest time in. When your reputation as a genuine value provider reaches them, they are naturally inclined toward connection. And excellent people connected to other excellent people creates the network of networks that is, for many successful people, their single most powerful source of ongoing leverage. The time horizon for this kind of network building is long. You are not building toward a specific transaction. You are building a durable social asset that will pay dividends in ways you cannot predict or schedule. But the return on that investment, measured over a decade or a career, is extraordinary. The architecture of a strategic network. Beyond general relationship quality, a strategically designed professional network has specific structural characteristics. It includes people who know things you do not know, across a range of domains relevant to your goals. It includes people who operate at a higher level of achievement than your current level, providing perspective, inspiration, and the occasional door opening. It includes people who can provide honest, informed feedback on your ideas and decisions, not just encouragement. And it includes people across different industries, geographies, and stages of career, providing the diversity of perspective and connection that makes the network genuinely generative. Building this architecture requires intentionality. Audit your current network periodically. Ask where the gaps are. Actively seek relationships that fill those gaps, not through manipulation but through genuine interest in and value for the people who can fill them. Chapter Summary. Professional networks grow in value exponentially, not linearly, because each new high-quality connection creates pathways to all existing connections simultaneously. Relationship capital is primarily informational and probabilistic. Your network is a distributed intelligence system that accelerates your access to opportunities, resources, and knowledge. Weak ties are often more economically valuable than strong ties because they provide bridges to different information ecosystems. Network compounding happens through the consistent provision of genuine value over time, building a reputation that attracts further high-quality relationships. A strategically designed network includes diverse expertise, aspirational peers, honest advisors, and cross-domain bridges. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Audit your current professional network this week. List the 10 most important professional relationships you have. For each one, ask when you last added genuine value to that person without any direct request or expectation of return. Schedule one value-providing action for at least 3 of them before the week ends. Lesson 2. Identify one field, industry, or community adjacent to your own that you currently have minimal connection to. Choose one action this week that begins building a bridge to that community, whether attending an event, joining an online group, or reaching out to one specific person you have been meaning to connect with. Lesson 3. Become a deliberate connector. This week, identify 2 people in your network who should know each other but do not. Make the introduction with a clear description of why each person would benefit from knowing the other. This single practice, performed consistently, is one of the most powerful reputation builders available. Lesson 4. Read one book or article specifically on network science and social capital. Understanding the structural mechanics of how networks create value will fundamentally change how you approach relationship building, from an activity driven by immediate needs to a long-term strategic investment. In Chapter 10, we examine time arbitrage, the discipline and art of buying back the hours of your life and investing them where they generate the greatest return. Chapter 10, Time Arbitrage, Buying Back the Hours of Your Life. The most inelastic resource. Of all the resources available to you, time is the only one that cannot be replenished, borrowed, or manufactured. Every other resource, money, energy, relationships, knowledge, can be built, saved, and recovered after loss. Time is consumed at a fixed rate regardless of what you do with it, and it is gone the moment it passes. A minute of low-value activity and a minute of high-value activity cost exactly the same in time. The difference lies entirely in what they produce. Time arbitrage is the discipline of systematically shifting your time from lower-value activities to higher-value activities. It is the recognition that your time has a real economic value, that this value varies enormously depending on how you deploy it, and that the gap between your best use of time and your average use of time is the most important performance metric you should be tracking. This sounds simple. It is not. Because the activities that consume most of our time are often deeply habitual, socially expected, or emotionally comfortable. Identifying and eliminating them requires honest self-assessment and a willingness to make changes that can feel uncomfortable, strange, or even antisocial. But the return on this investment is unmatched. Calculating the true cost of your time. Most people have never seriously calculated the economic value of an hour of their best work. This is a critical oversight, because without this baseline, you cannot make rational decisions about where to invest your time or how much it makes sense to pay to get other things off your plate. The calculation begins with your primary income. If you earn $100,000 per year working 2,000 hours, your apparent hourly rate is $50. But your apparent rate almost certainly underestimates your actual leverage potential, because not all your working hours are equally productive. If 2 hours of your peak creative work produces the same economic value as 8 hours of administrative tasks, your true leverage rate during those 2 hours is much higher than $50. The goal of time arbitrage is to identify your highest leverage activities, the things only you can do, the things that produce disproportionate economic or creative results, and then systematically protect and expand the time you spend on them while finding ways to eliminate, automate, or delegate everything else. The 4 categories of activity. A useful framework for time arbitrage divides all activities into 4 categories. The first is the unique ability zone, activities that you are extraordinarily good at, that you find genuinely energizing, and that produce results no one else could produce as effectively. This is your highest leverage time, and the goal is to spend as much of your working life here as possible. The second category is the excellence zone, activities you are very good at but that others could also perform at a high level with proper training. These are activities worth delegating, because although you can do them well, your doing them prevents you from spending more time in your unique ability zone. The third category is the competence zone, activities you can do adequately but that others might do as well or better. These are activities that should be outsourced as quickly as resources allow. The fourth category is the incompetence zone, activities you do poorly, that drain your energy, and that someone else would handle better. These should be eliminated or delegated immediately, because you are not just wasting your time, you are also producing substandard results. The practical exercise of categorizing your weekly activities against this framework typically reveals that most people spend the majority of their working time in the competence and excellence zones, doing things they could delegate, while spending very little time in their unique ability zone where the greatest leverage lies. The financial mathematics of buying back time. Time arbitrage becomes most powerful when you run the financial mathematics explicitly. If your unique ability zone generates $200 of value per hour, and you are currently spending 10 hours per week in the competence zone doing tasks you could outsource for $20 per hour, the economic case for outsourcing is overwhelming. You spend $200 to free 10 hours of competence zone activity. You can then deploy those 10 hours in your unique ability zone, generating $2,000 of value. The return on the $200 investment is 900%. No stock market investment produces that return consistently. This mathematics explains why the wealthiest individuals are often the most willing to pay for services that most people consider luxuries: house cleaning, personal chefs, drivers, executive assistants, concierge medicine, and so on. They are not being extravagant. They are doing rational time arbitrage. Every hour reclaimed from a low-leverage activity is an hour available for a high-leverage activity, and the delta between those two rates is their return on the investment. Energy management as time amplification. Time arbitrage is incomplete without its companion discipline, energy management. An hour of peak cognitive energy spent on your highest leverage work produces dramatically different results than an hour of depleted, distracted, low-energy effort applied to the same task. Managing your energy, through sleep, exercise, nutrition, and strategic scheduling of demanding work during your peak cognitive hours, is a multiplier of your effective time. The most productive people are not those who work the most hours. They are those who protect and deploy their peak energy hours with extraordinary intentionality. They schedule creative and strategic work during the hours when their minds are sharpest. They batch administrative and logistical tasks during lower energy periods. They protect sleep and recovery as ruthlessly as they protect important meetings, because they understand that a depleted mind is not just less pleasant to inhabit, it is less economically productive. Chapter Summary. Time is the only resource that cannot be replenished or manufactured, making its deployment the most consequential investment decision you make daily. Time arbitrage is the systematic shift of your time from lower value to higher value activities. Calculating the true economic value of your best hours creates a rational basis for decisions about what to delegate, automate, or eliminate. The 4-category framework of unique ability, excellence, competence, and incompetence zones provides a practical tool for auditing current time use and identifying delegation opportunities. Energy management amplifies the value of reclaimed time by ensuring peak cognitive hours are deployed on peak leverage activities. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Conduct a time audit this week. For each day, record how you spent your working hours in 30-minute blocks. At the end of the week, categorize each block using the 4-category framework. The results will almost certainly reveal surprising and actionable patterns. Lesson 2. Identify your peak cognitive hours, the time of day when your thinking is sharpest, your focus is deepest, and your creative output is highest. Schedule one high-leverage activity in those hours every day this week, protecting that block as fiercely as any external commitment. Lesson 3. Calculate the cost of one time-consuming task you currently perform that could be outsourced. Compare that cost to the value of what you could accomplish with that reclaimed time. If the math supports outsourcing, take the first step toward implementing it this week. Lesson 4. Evaluate your current sleep and recovery practices. If you are consistently operating on less than 7 hours of sleep, you are not saving time. You are borrowing cognitive performance from your future self at compounding interest. Make one specific improvement to your sleep hygiene this week. In Chapter 11, we make the most important mindset shift in this entire audiobook, from earner to builder, from the ownership mindset. Chapter 11, The Ownership Mindset, Shifting from Earner to Builder. The single most important identity shift. If there is one chapter in this audiobook that has the potential to change the entire trajectory of your financial life, it is this one. Not because the ideas here are the most complex or the most technically detailed, but because the shift described here is not a strategy. It is an identity change. And identity changes, when they genuinely take root, produce behavioral changes that no strategy can replicate. The shift is this, from thinking of yourself as an earner to thinking of yourself as a builder. An earner's primary question is, how much can I earn? This is a question about compensation, about what the market will pay for your labor, your skills, or your credentials. It is a fundamentally linear question, because earnings are directly connected to effort, and effort is finite. A builder's primary question is, what am I building? This is a question about ownership, about what you are creating that will have ongoing value independent of your continued personal effort. It is a fundamentally different orientation toward economic activity, and it produces fundamentally different results over time. Ownership as the foundation of wealth. If you study the wealth creation patterns of the truly rich, ownership is the common thread. Not high salaries. Not exceptional talent. Ownership. The wealthy own things that generate value. Companies, properties, intellectual property, financial assets. Their income is a function not primarily of what they do but of what they own. This is why two people with identical professional skills can have wildly different financial outcomes. The employee surgeon earns a high salary proportional to their hours worked. The surgeon who also owns the medical practice earns not just their clinical income but the economic value of the entire operation. The author who licenses their manuscript to a publisher earns royalties. The author who self-publishes and builds their own audience owns the entire economic relationship with their readers. The artist who signs with a major label earns a fraction of the value their art generates. The artist who builds their own platform and sells directly to fans captures nearly all of that value. The pattern repeats across every domain and every industry. Ownership is the multiplier. The earner works for the owner. The owner captures the surplus. The builder's mindset in practice. Adopting the builder's mindset does not mean abandoning your career or rejecting employment. It means changing the lens through which you see your economic activities. It means asking, even of your current employment, how am I building something here? What am I learning that has standalone value? What am I creating that I could own? What resources and relationships am I accumulating that I could deploy in an ownership context? It means treating your career not just as a series of jobs but as a platform for building capabilities, capital, relationships, and credibility that eventually support ownership positions. Every skill you develop, every professional relationship you cultivate, every dollar you save and invest, and every piece of expertise you accumulate is a building block. The builder sees all of it as inputs into an eventual structure that generates value independently. The builder's mindset also changes your relationship to risk. Earners are naturally risk-averse about their employment because their income depends entirely on maintaining their current position. Builders are more comfortable with strategic risk because they understand that building something of genuine value sometimes requires accepting short-term uncertainty in exchange for long-term ownership. The progression from earner to owner. The transition from earner to owner rarely happens overnight. It typically follows a progression that moves through several stages. The first stage is accumulation, earning, saving, and investing capital while developing skills and expertise that have leverage potential. This stage can last years, and it requires patience because the assets being built are not yet generating meaningful independent income. The second stage is inception, making the first genuine moves into ownership. Starting a small business on the side, making first real estate investments, publishing first knowledge assets, building the first audience. The results at this stage are still modest, but the identity shift is beginning to take root. You have moved from thinking about ownership to actually owning something. The third stage is growth. The assets you own begin generating meaningful, growing income. Compounding is now working visibly in your favor. You are reinvesting returns into expanding your ownership positions. The gap between your ownership income and your labor income is narrowing. The fourth stage is freedom. Your ownership income equals or exceeds your labor income. You are no longer financially dependent on trading time for money. You can choose how you deploy your labor based on interest and impact rather than financial necessity. The progression is not guaranteed. It requires sustained effort, disciplined capital allocation, and the willingness to delay gratification over a period of years. But it is available to anyone who chooses to see themselves as a builder and makes the decisions that flow from that identity. Chapter Summary. The single most important shift in building a leveraged life is the identity change from earner to builder. Earners ask how much they can earn, builders ask what they are building. Ownership, not labor, is the foundation of durable wealth. The wealthy own things that generate value, and their income is a function of what they own rather than exclusively what they do. The builder's mindset changes your orientation toward every aspect of economic activity. Treating careers as platforms for building ownership-enabling assets. The progression from earner to owner moves through accumulation, inception, growth, and freedom, a journey that takes years but is available to anyone willing to adopt the identity and make the consistent decisions it requires. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Write down your honest answer to the question, am I primarily an earner or a builder right now? Not what you want to be, but what your actual daily decisions reflect. This honest self-assessment is the beginning of the identity shift. Lesson 2. Identify one thing you currently do as a skill, a process, an area of expertise, or a service that you could potentially own rather than just perform. Write a one-paragraph description of what owning that thing would look like, even in a small, initial form. Lesson 3. Read the biography or profile of one person who successfully transitioned from employee to business owner or from earner to investor. Focus specifically on the mindset shift they describe, not just the strategic actions. How did they think differently before they began building? Lesson 4. Create a simple two-column list. In the first column, write your current income streams. In the second column, for each stream, write whether you own something that produces it or whether you are trading time to produce it. The columns reveal the balance of your current earner-to-builder ratio. Chapter 12 reveals the strategy used by the most sophisticated wealth builders, stacking leverage, the compounding formula that multiplies every force we have discussed. Chapter 12, Stacking Leverage, the compounding formula the wealthy use. Why one form of leverage is never enough. By this point in the audiobook, you have a working understanding of 4 distinct forms of leverage: financial, human, systems, and knowledge. You understand how each one works, what it requires to build, and how it generates returns that exceed the direct cost of the underlying effort. Each of these forms of leverage is powerful on its own. But the truly extraordinary wealth creators in history have not used leverage in isolation. They have stacked it. They have built structures in which multiple forms of leverage amplify each other, creating returns that no single form could produce independently. This stacking effect is the compounding formula that separates the merely successful from the extraordinarily wealthy. Understanding leverage stacking is not merely an academic exercise. It is the strategic framework that guides how you allocate your effort and capital as you progress through the builder journey. It tells you not just what to build but in what sequence, and how to connect the things you build so that each one makes the others more powerful. How leverage stacks interact. Consider a concrete example that illustrates how leverage stacks compound. A person with genuine expertise in a specific domain, let us say nutritional biochemistry, begins by packaging their knowledge as an online course. This is knowledge leverage. The course generates initial revenue that is reinvested into creating more content and building an audience. This is knowledge leverage compounding through media leverage. The growing audience attracts opportunities to collaborate with brands and products aligned with the creator's expertise. Some of these collaborations involve equity stakes rather than flat fees, meaning the creator is now beginning to build financial leverage through ownership of growing companies in their space. They use the income from the course and the brand deals to hire a small team that handles customer support. Media leverage, the building of an audience, can begin at any stage but typically accelerates dramatically once you have financial leverage in place, because you can invest in content production and distribution at a scale not available to someone operating purely on personal effort. The power of cross-leverage. One of the most underappreciated properties of stacked leverage is what might be called cross-leverage, the way each form of leverage makes the others more effective. An audience makes your knowledge assets more valuable by expanding their distribution. Your financial capital makes your systems more powerful by allowing you to invest in better technology. Your team makes your content more consistent by handling production tasks that would otherwise limit your output. Your systems make your team more effective by removing the ambiguity and variability that consumes management energy. The leverage stack is not a collection of independent assets operating in parallel. It is an interconnected system where each element contributes to and draws from every other element. Building with this interconnection in mind, rather than building each element in isolation, is the design principle that separates sophisticated wealth builders from those who work hard but never quite achieve the compounding effect they seek. The patience required. Stacking leverage takes time. Not weeks or months, but years. The first layer is typically generating meaningful returns within 1 to 2 years of focused effort. The second layer begins to amplify the first within 2 to 3 years. The third layer, often financial leverage, typically requires 3 to 5 years of prior wealth building before it can be deployed at a scale that produces truly meaningful independent returns. This timeline is one of the reasons that leverage stacking is so rare, despite being so well understood in theory. Human psychology is poorly suited to investments that take 5 or 10 years to fully mature. We discount future rewards heavily relative to immediate gratification. We lose faith during the slow early phases and pivot to something else before the compounding accelerates. The antidote to this impatience is not motivation or willpower. It is understanding. When you genuinely understand the mechanics of compounding and the typical timeline of leverage stack development, you can make rational decisions even when emotional impulses push toward abandonment. The knowledge that the exponential curve is ahead of you, even when the early phase feels linear and disappointing, is what sustains the long-term commitment that stacking leverage requires. Chapter summary. Leverage stacking is the strategic combination of multiple forms of leverage in ways that cause each one to amplify the others. The truly extraordinary wealth creators do not use leverage in isolation. They build interconnected stacks where financial, human, systems, and knowledge leverage work together. Successful stacking follows a logical sequence that respects resource constraints, typically beginning with knowledge leverage and adding layers in order of dependency. Cross-leverage is the property of stacked systems where each form of leverage makes the others more effective, creating returns that no single form could produce independently. Stacking leverage takes years to fully develop, requiring a patient, long-term orientation that is sustained by deep understanding of the compounding mechanics involved. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Draw your ideal leverage stack, the combination of financial, human, systems, and knowledge leverage you are working toward in a 5 to 10 year time frame. Describe specifically what each layer would look like and how it would interact with the others. This visualization exercise builds the mental map that guides strategic decisions. Lesson 2. Identify your current leverage stack. What forms of leverage do you currently have, even in modest form? Where are the gaps relative to your ideal stack? The analysis of the gap is your strategic roadmap. Lesson 3. Research one person in your field who has successfully built a leverage stack over a decade or more. Map out the sequence in which they built each layer. Pay particular attention to what they built first, what resources they used to build the second layer, and how long each stage took. Lesson 4. Identify the single highest leverage investment of your time and resources in the next 90 days, meaning the action that most effectively builds or strengthens the first layer of your own leverage stack. Write a specific action plan for executing it. In our final chapter before the conclusion, Chapter 13 presents your leverage code, the personal roadmap that synthesizes everything we have covered into a practical framework you can begin using immediately. Chapter 13, Your Leverage Code, a personal roadmap to multiplied effort. From framework to blueprint. Throughout this audiobook, we have covered a great deal of ground. We have explored the nature and mechanics of the time trap. We have examined the 4 fundamental forces of leverage in depth. We have studied financial capital, human multiplication, systems design, knowledge assets, media machines, digital leverage, network effects, time arbitrage, ownership identity, and stacking strategy. Each of these is a rich domain with enough depth to fill its own book. But knowledge, even comprehensive knowledge, is only the beginning. The gap between understanding leverage and actually building it is bridged by one thing and one thing only: a personal plan, executed with consistency and intelligence over time. This chapter is about building that plan. Your leverage code. Not a generic framework, but a personalized roadmap that accounts for where you are now, what resources you currently have, where your most accessible leverage opportunities are, and what sequence of building will get you from your current position to a genuinely leveraged life in the most efficient way possible. The starting point assessment. Every effective strategy begins with an honest assessment of the starting point. Before you can plan effectively, you need clarity on 4 things: your current resources, your current leverage, your unique leverage potential, and your constraints. Your current resources include your financial capital, your time availability, your existing skills and expertise, your current relationships and network, and your energy and focus capacity. An honest inventory of these resources tells you what you have to build with. Your current leverage is what you assessed in the stacking chapter. What forms of leverage do you currently have, however modest? This tells you what you are building from, not from zero but from wherever you genuinely are. Your unique leverage potential is the intersection of your skills, knowledge, experiences, and interests with genuine market need. This is where your most natural and most defensible leverage can be built. Not where theory says leverage can be found, but where your specific capabilities make you most likely to create genuine value. Your constraints are the real limitations on your path: time, capital, skills to be developed, obligations that limit flexibility. Acknowledging constraints honestly is not defeatism. It is the precondition of building a plan that will actually work in your actual life rather than in an idealized scenario. The 3 horizons of leverage building. Effective leverage building unfolds across 3 time horizons, each with different objectives, different actions, and different measures of progress. The first horizon is the immediate phase, covering the next 90 days. In this phase, the objective is not to build leverage but to build the conditions that make leverage possible. This means eliminating financial waste to begin accumulating capital, documenting your most repeatable processes to prepare for systems leverage, publishing your first piece of knowledge content to begin building both credibility and the habit of knowledge leverage, and identifying the one person in your network whose relationship you should invest in most deliberately. The second horizon covers the next 1 to 3 years. In this phase, the objective is to build your first genuine leverage layer. For most people, this means either establishing a meaningful content presence and initial knowledge product that generates recurring revenue, making first real estate or investment acquisitions that begin generating passive income, or building a small team or contractor network that multiplies your effective output. The goal of this phase is to have at least one income stream that operates with genuine independence from your personal daily effort. The third horizon covers 3 to 10 years. In this phase, the objective is to stack. To build the second and third leverage layers on the foundation of the first. To begin connecting the layers so they amplify each other. To progressively increase the proportion of your income that comes from owned assets rather than direct labor. The target at the end of this horizon is a leverage stack that generates income equal to or greater than your labor income, providing genuine financial freedom. The leverage code principles. Regardless of the specific path you choose, certain principles apply universally to successful leverage building. These are the principles that the most successful practitioners in every domain consistently demonstrate, and they are worth internalizing as deeply as any of the strategic content in this audiobook. The first principle is that speed matters less than consistency. The leverage stack that is built slowly but surely over 10 years produces more than the one pursued frantically for 2 years and then abandoned. Sustainable pace beats sprint pace every time. The second principle is that quality of assets matters more than quantity. One excellent digital course, one great investment property, one highly productive team member, or one truly powerful professional relationship produces more leverage than 10 mediocre versions of each. Build fewer things with greater intentionality. The third principle is that learning from doing matters more than learning from studying. This audiobook, and all the reading and studying you do, is valuable preparation. But it does not substitute for the irreplaceable lessons of actually building, failing, iterating, and succeeding in real market conditions. Begin building before you feel fully ready, because full readiness is a myth. The fourth principle is that protecting your fundamental health and well-being is not a distraction from building leverage. It is a prerequisite for sustaining the decade-long effort that building genuine leverage requires. Sleep, exercise, relationships, and mental health are not luxuries. They are the infrastructure on which everything else is built. The fifth principle is that your definition of success should be your own, not borrowed from culture, from social media, or from the ambitions of others. The purpose of leverage is not to prove something to anyone. It is to build the financial freedom to live the life you actually want on your own terms. Keep that North Star clear, because it is the only one that will sustain you through the inevitable challenges of a decade-long building journey. Writing your leverage code. Your personal leverage code is a living document. It begins with your starting point assessment. It describes your 3-horizon plan with specific, time-bound objectives. It identifies the first layer of leverage you will build, the specific assets, actions, and habits that will constitute that layer, and the timeline and milestones you will use to measure progress. Write it down. Not in your head. On paper, in a document, or in a journal. The act of writing makes the plan real in a way that thinking about it cannot. It creates a record you can return to, revise, and use to maintain accountability to yourself over time. Review it quarterly. Not to judge yourself for falling short but to assess honestly, update based on what you have learned, and recommit to the path. The plan will change as your resources grow, your understanding deepens, and your circumstances evolve. That is not failure. It is the natural adaptation of a living strategy to a changing reality. And share it with someone you trust. Accountability is one of the most powerful and most underutilized tools in the builder's toolkit. A single other person who understands your goals and checks in on your progress regularly can make the difference between sustained execution and abandoned intention. Chapter Summary. Your leverage code is a personal roadmap that synthesizes the principles of this audiobook into a specific, actionable plan tailored to your unique starting point, resources, and goals. Building it begins with an honest starting point assessment covering your resources, current leverage, unique leverage potential, and real constraints. The 3-horizon framework organizes building across 90 days, 1 to 3 years, and 3 to 10 years, with different objectives and actions appropriate to each phase. 5 universal principles guide successful leverage building: consistency over speed, quality over quantity, doing over studying, protecting your fundamental well-being, and defining success on your own terms. Your leverage code is a living document, written down, reviewed quarterly, and shared with a trusted accountability partner. Practical lessons and exercises. Lesson 1. Complete your starting point assessment. Write down your current resources, your current leverage, your unique leverage potential, and your real constraints. Be brutally honest. This document is for you alone. Its value is proportional to its accuracy. Lesson 2. Write your 3-horizon plan. For each horizon, the 90-day phase, the 1 to 3 year phase, and the 3 to 10-year phase, write one clear objective and 3 specific actions that will move you toward that objective. The specificity of this plan is what makes it actionable. Lesson 3. Identify your accountability partner. Choose one person who respects your goals, will take them seriously, and will ask you honest questions about your progress. Schedule a monthly check-in with them, even if it is just 30 minutes. Then make the call. Lesson 4. Start today. Choose the single most important action in your 90-day plan and take the first step before you finish listening to this audiobook. Not tomorrow. Not when things are less busy. Today. Because the gap between knowing and doing is where most plans die, and crossing it immediately, even in the smallest way, is the most important thing you can do with what you have learned. We are almost at the end of our journey together. Coming up is the conclusion, where we bring everything together in the choice before you. Conclusion. The choice before you. Every person who listens to an audiobook like this one eventually arrives at the same crossroads. On one side is the familiar path, the path of linear effort, of trading time for money, of working harder within a system that was designed to capture your labor rather than build your wealth. It is not a bad path. It is comfortable, predictable, and socially validated. Billions of people walk it their entire lives. On the other side is a different path. It is harder in the beginning because it requires building things before they produce results. It is slower at first because compound growth is invisible until it is not. It demands patience, discipline, and the willingness to invest in structures that take years to mature. But it is the path that leads somewhere fundamentally different. Not just financially different. Fundamentally different in terms of freedom, in terms of options, in terms of the choices available to you about how you spend the irreplaceable days of your life. This path is the leverage code. You now have the map. You understand the 4 forces of leverage: financial, human, systems, and knowledge. You understand how each one works, how they interact and compound when stacked, and how to begin building each one from wherever you are today. You understand the time trap and why it exists. You understand the difference between the earner mindset and the builder mindset. You have the tools of time arbitrage, network building, digital leverage, and media compound growth. You have a framework for writing your personal leverage code. What you do with this knowledge is now entirely up to you. Do not let this be an audiobook you listened to and found interesting. Let it be an audiobook that changed something. Change how you see your time. Change how you see your skills. Changed how you see the economic activities of your daily life. Change the questions you ask yourself when you wake up in the morning. The wealthiest people in the world do not have secrets. They have frameworks. They ask different questions. They see systems where others see tasks. They see assets where others see skills. They see compounding where others see linear effort. They are not smarter in any inherent sense. They simply operate from a different map. You now have the map. What happens from here is a function of the choices you make starting today. Small choices. Consistent choices. The choice to document a process rather than just execute it. The choice to invest rather than spend. The choice to publish rather than keep your expertise private. The choice to delegate rather than do everything yourself. The choice to build something rather than just earn something. These choices, made consistently over months and years, compound into a life that looks genuinely extraordinary from the outside. From the inside, it was built one choice at a time. The leverage code is not a secret. It is a decision. Decide to build, and the building will teach you everything you need to know. You have the knowledge. You have the framework. You have the plan. The only thing left is to begin. Thank you for listening to the Leverage Code. Final words. Before you go, a message from us to you. You made it to the end of the Leverage Code. That alone puts you in a rare category, because most people who start something like this never finish it. The fact that you stayed with this material all the way through tells us something important about you. You are serious about your growth, and you are willing to do the work that most people only talk about. That is exactly the kind of listener we create these audiobooks for. Before we let you go, we want to take a moment to do 3 things. First, to invite you to explore the full MindLab audiobooks library, because the journey you have begun with the leverage code connects directly to a body of work that goes deeper into every dimension of your mental, financial, and behavioral transformation. Second, to give you a preview of what is coming next. And third, and most importantly, to ask something of you that takes less than 1 minute but means everything to the growth of this channel. The MindLab Audiobooks Library, your complete reprogramming curriculum. The leverage code is one piece of a much larger puzzle. At MindLab Audiobooks, every title we produce is designed to address a specific layer of the mental and behavioral programming that determines your results in life. If you found genuine value in this audiobook, we want you to know that the library we have already built goes even deeper. If what resonated most deeply today was the idea that your thinking patterns are limiting your financial life, we highly recommend you listen to Reprogram Your Limits, break free from the invisible rules holding you back. This audiobook dismantles the invisible belief systems that were installed in you long before you had any say in the matter, the rules about what is possible for people like you, about how much you are allowed to earn, and about what you deserve. If the leverage code showed you a new map, Reprogram Your Limits burns the old one. If the chapters on systems and daily behavior resonated with you, the habit code, how your daily actions are quietly controlling your entire life, is essential listening. Most people think their life is the result of big decisions. It is not. It is the result of the small, unconscious, repeated actions they perform every single day without ever consciously choosing them. The habit code breaks that cycle open and hands you the controls. Connected to that is the identity loop, why you cannot change your habits even when you try. This audiobook answers the question that haunts every person who has ever set a goal and failed to keep it. The answer is not willpower. It is identity. And until your identity changes, your habits cannot change. This audiobook shows you exactly how to break the loop. If you have ever felt stuck, like you are living the same year over and over with different dates, then the repetition trap, how your brain locks you into the same life every day, was written specifically for you. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, keep you in familiar territory. Understanding this mechanism is the first step to overriding it. For a stunning companion to that title, listen to The Automatic Life, How Habits Turn You into Someone You Never Chose to Be. This audiobook asks one of the most unsettling questions in the library: are you living your life, or are you living the life your early programming chose for you? The distinction is sharper and more important than most people have ever been invited to consider. If today's conversation about the wealth mindset and the earner versus builder identity hit close to home, then 3 audiobooks in particular deserve your immediate attention. The Wealth Script, How Your Money Beliefs Were Programmed Without You Knowing, reveals the invisible financial programming that was written into your subconscious before you were old enough to question it. Every belief you hold about money, about who deserves wealth, about how hard life should be, and about what is financially possible for you, was installed without your consent. This audiobook shows you where those scripts came from and how to rewrite them. The Scarcity Loop, Why Thinking Small Keeps You Poor Even If You Work Hard, confronts the most financially damaging mindset pattern in existence. Scarcity thinking is not just about having little. It is a cognitive lens that filters out opportunity, contracts ambition, and guarantees that effort never converts into lasting wealth. If any part of you still secretly believes that wealth is for other people, this audiobook is your most important next listen. The Income Identity, You Earn What You Believe You Deserve, is one of the most powerful titles in the library and one of the most challenging. Your income is not primarily determined by your skills, your education, or the economy. It is determined by the number you have decided, usually unconsciously, that you are worth it. This audiobook takes that number apart and rebuilds it. The Decision Gap, How Rich Minds and Poor Minds Choose Completely Different Futures, is a masterclass in the cognitive and psychological mechanisms that separate those who build lasting wealth from those who do not. It is not about intelligence. It is about decision architecture. And the gap, once you see it, cannot be unseen. And finally, The Opportunity Filter, Why Some People See Chances Everywhere and Others See Nothing, addresses the mysterious phenomenon that every ambitious person has observed but few have fully explained. 2 people walk into the same room, face the same market, and live in the same economy. One of them sees 5 opportunities before breakfast. The other sees none. This audiobook explains the neuroscience and psychology behind that difference, and more importantly, shows you how to recalibrate your own filter. Every single one of these titles is available right now on the MindLab Audiobooks channel. we recommend you do not wait. The compounding effect of this knowledge builds with every audiobook you consume. Each one reinforces, deepens, and expands what the others have planted. Your transformation is not a single audiobook. It is a curriculum. And you are already enrolled. Coming up next on MindLab Audiobooks. We are not done building this library, and we are certainly not done building with you. Our next audiobook release is coming very soon, and if what you heard today resonated with you, we can promise you that what comes next will go even further. We are currently putting the finishing touches on a title that takes everything you have learned about leverage, identity, and financial thinking and applies it to the most overlooked and most powerful phase of the wealth-building journey, the phase where most people give up right before the breakthrough. We are not going to reveal the full title yet. What we will say is this: the next audiobook from MindLab will answer the question that every serious wealth builder eventually asks, the question that comes after you understand leverage, after you start building, and after you hit the first major wall. The question of what to do when you know the right thing and still cannot make yourself do it consistently. That gap has a name, a mechanism, and a solution. And we are going to map all three in extraordinary detail. Stay subscribed. Stay close. Because when this one drops, you will want to be the first to hear it. One last thing, your action right now. We produce every single audiobook in this library because we believe, deeply and genuinely, that the ideas inside them have the power to change lives. Not inspire lives. Change them. Practically. Financially. Psychologically. At the level of daily decisions and long-term outcomes. But that only happens if these audiobooks reach the people who need them. And that, honestly, depends on you. So right now, before you close this out, before you move on to the next thing in your day, we are asking you to do 3 things that take less than 60 seconds combined and make an enormous difference. First, hit the like button. It sounds small. It is not. It tells the algorithm that this content is worth showing to more people, and it means that someone who needs this information tonight will be more likely to find it. Do not skip this. If this audiobook gave you even one genuinely valuable idea, that click is your way of saying thank you in a language the platform understands. Second, leave a comment. Tell us what chapter hit hardest for you. Tell us which concept you are going to implement first. Ask a question. Share a thought. Your comments do not just help us understand what resonates, they create a community of listeners who are all working on the same transformation. Every comment you leave is a signal to someone else who is scrolling past that this audiobook is worth their time. Be that signal. Third, share this audiobook with at least 7 people. Not 1. Not 2. 7. Think about the people in your life who are working hard but not getting ahead. Think about the person who is intelligent and driven but still stuck in the time trap we described in Chapter 1. Think about the friend who has been talking about starting a business for 3 years but has not taken a step. Think about the family member who is brilliant with people or with knowledge or with systems but has no idea how to convert that into leverage. Send them this audiobook today. Not tomorrow. Today. Because the right information at the right moment can change the direction of a life. You might be the reason someone you love finds their leverage code. That is not a small thing. And if you have not already subscribed to MindLab Audiobooks, do it right now. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We release new titles regularly, and every single one of them is designed to add another layer to the transformation you have already begun. You have invested the time to listen to this. Protect that investment by making sure the next release finds you. Like. Comment. Share with 7 people. Subscribe. These 4 actions are your first act of leverage today. MindLab Audiobooks. Reprogramming minds. Rebuilding lives. One audiobook at a time.